that my name?
That's your name for my podcast. All right, so this is the Real Day Trader of Beverly Hills podcast. I'm the Real Day Trader of Beverly Hills, and I am here with my sidekick, Ryan Frankowski, who has his own podcast, but we won't talk about that now because I'm the sidekick on that one. As my sidekick, I'm going to call him Cracky. Don't say too much, Cracky.
Can you tell them the backstory on Cracky?
I need you to subscribe to the Bro Pit YouTube channel because that's where this visual podcast is going to appear. It will also be on Spotify and Apple as an audio, but because I'll be doing things like impressions. The Real Day Trader of Beverly Hills comes about, it came about because I basically day trade. I traded for 15 years at a hedge fund, and I'm also a huge consumer of pop culture, and I love it, and I'm always doing impressions. So, and I love Bravo. Let's face it, right? Bravo's our thing.
It is our thing.
And, so when I'm doing things like, I might be living in the Beverly Hills, but I still know how to get hood. Which comes from Nene Leakes on Atlanta. Things like that, you got to be able to see me do that. But it probably sounds good just audio-wise. Anyway, so this is the first episode. Please subscribe to the Bro Pit so that I can, I just like to,
That's how we keep doing what we're doing if you subscribe.
Okay, Cracky. The thing is, Cracky, I do this all day long. The reason I'm doing this is because I spend all day long on my chats, sending people, recording stuff on the television, sending it to them and saying oh my God, this is so funny. Like on my WhatsApp chats, my SMS chats, whatever. And I'm like, this is so funny. This is so funny. And I'm always quoting people, or I leave voice notes. People literally ask me. I have friends that are like, can you do an impression of this scene? Because I'm always doing impressions, everything from well, Kim, I would, but from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when she was like, I would, Kim, but you're so off your rocker right now. And she's like, why don't you go blow up your lips some more? Things like that. People send me and be like, can you do more of that? And I'm like, okay.
Who was that?
That was Kim and Taylor Armstrong from
Beverly Hills Housewives.
But I do more than that. I also, anyway, I'll do anything from anything. I did, what's her name? Claire Crawley, when she's like, I love that. From, the only season I ever watched of The Bachelorette, because I was told to watch it because she was so out of her fucking mind.
My mom told you to watch it.
Yeah, you're right. It was Lynn. It was Lynn. It definitely was Lynn. And,
the worst decision, but the best decision.
Well, it gave us a lot of material.
For sure.
Anyway, so this is what the podcast is going to be. Hopefully it's only 20 minutes long. I'm going to try to edit it down and just make it fun for all the people that like to, for example, I just watched the Dahmer series on Netflix, I love that Glenda Cleveland was her name, who was like, that 14-year-old boy, he's a baby. She kept calling the police all the time. I was like, she's the only reason I'm even watching this thing is to find out what happened with Glenda Cleveland. She's like this, she's like another little hero of mine. But yeah, or we started The Watcher the other night with Naomi Watts and Jennifer Coolidge and, what's his name? Bobby Cannavale, who, was...
Were you just picking your nose?
No, I was just itching it. Cracky, stop. Cracky just doesn't know how to control himself sometimes. Anyway, so like I said, have so much to say, and I'm going to say it. And hopefully it'll be amusing to whoever's watching this. And it'll allow me to do the thing that I'm best at, which is rehashing pop culture, making fun of it, always in a very loving way, because it gives me a reason to get up every morning. And then I'll also talk about stuff going on in the market. Like, for example, today, I'm day trading and, the market's up, and everybody that pays attention to the market, we added 10 million new trader, Robinhood and all the other platforms, during COVID, and it added 10 million new accounts in the last year or so. Because of COVID, everybody was sitting at home day trading. And because that was my forte, I also have a few words on that. I might not do what I tell you to do all the time, but I have thoughts on it. Today, the market didn't need to hear the president of the Philly Fed, Harker, coming out and saying, oh, well, we're going to hike rates for a lot longer than we think because inflation's not coming down. I mean, the market was up 1% and just went, And it's like, so I'm going to have a moan about that sort of thing too and talk about what I think's happening. We just got Snapchat last night, which if you're watching this on what's today? October 20th. So October 20th after the market closed, you got Snapchat earnings. They actually were decent. They had more subscribers. The stock plummeted 30%, even though it's down like 70% or 80, 90% from its all-time highs, but it plummeted 30% because they just couldn't give guidance in the next quarter. I was like, this is a buying op because nobody knows what the guidance will be in the next quarter. But at the end of the day, the earnings were better than expected on every other metric. But they just said, but we expect the fourth quarter to be bad. But everybody does because the Fed is hiking interest rates with an intention to go up to like 5% by next year. They're at 3.25% right now. We're going to get another hike, probably of 75 bips in November, another one in December. That'll bring us to 4.75%. And then I guess they'll reassess. Anyway, that might not be interesting to the pop culture connoisseurs who love Bravo and like all the fun stuff out there, music and stuff. For example, I just saw Megan.
I see what you're doing. You're doing the real day trader of Beverly Hills. So you're kind of incorporating day trading with pop culture, such as Housewives.
You would almost think that we never talked about this, Cracky.
I'm just trying to give the viewer some insight. Because you're not really good at explaining things.
I said the name came about, the real day trader of Beverly Hills. I thought it was obvious that it kind of...
So can people watch you live and be able to like get tips on day trading?
Not live. Maybe one day I'll do something live. But
because
no.
I think people want to know what your tips are for day trading.
Well, I'm going to post this every day or every other day, depending on how I feel.
So you can give some insight forecasting for tomorrow.
Yeah. Like next week, for example, on October 27th, you're going to get Apple earnings, and everyone is pretty confident. The thing about Apple, although I don't want to go into too much about stocks, I was going to save that for the end, to be honest.
I think a lot of people want to know. They want to make money.
They need to hear me talk about like Megan Thee Stallion to really appreciate
me. They can live in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. I can barely live anymore after the market. But, like SNL with Megan Thee Stallion. Anybody see that? It was amazing on Saturday. Now, see, Cracker, you've got me all over the place. But I just want to say, like, do you see? I'm like, it's almost like Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, where she's like, I can use legal jargon in everyday language. She's like, oh, I object. You remember when she did that? Anyway, so I'm like, I can talk Bravo, Saturday Night Live, and market all in one little podcast in 20 minutes. I'll buy. Anyway, I don't know. I tried to do it off the cuff. It probably fell flat. But, okay. So anyway, like I said, we can easily go from talking about the fact that Apple, there's some ridiculous reports about Apple. The thing about these reports, if you ever are trading a stock like Apple, you'll say, oh, Apple's cutting production. First of all, what I found by doing these YouTube things, that clickbait is ridiculous. So the other day in the market, clickbait came up the same way it did the other day. I got clickbait about Kathy Hilton, says something that's going to shock you and depress you. And then you click on it and the person's like, so it sounds like, a bot, doing a recap. The other day on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Kathy Hilton says to Lisa Rinna, and it's like, there's nothing new in this. And the headline was just to get you to click it. And I was like, this is BS.
Wait, it was just a bot that was reading something?
Yeah, I'm saying, but the headline made it sound like you're going to get something new, like maybe Kathy Hilton has decided to like leave the cast of Beverly Hills, and no longer be a friend, but based on this clickbait headline. The same way the other day in the market, there was a headline that says Apple's cutting production of the iPhone 14 Plus. Now, the thing is, two things about that headline. One is it was probably clickbait. There was no any source substantiated. The other thing is when Apple, cuts production of iPhone Plus, it might just be because the Pro, which everything I've read, is selling like hotcakes. So they're upping production of the one that's selling. And the Pros are the most expensive one. I'm telling you, next October 27th, when they report earnings, you can quote me on it. I'm sure it's going to be better than expected. Tim Cook has already said there's no iPhones are selling like hotcakes and they can't see any sort of recession or any problems with, consumers right now. That said, when I saw the Kathy, I thought it was going to be, but it was like, kind of that, you remember that line? It was just like a whole rehashing of the confrontation that happened between Lisa Rinna and Kathy when she was like, you could be really unkind too. Okay? Okay? And Lisa Rinna was like, oh, we're going to go there. You know, it was like, but see, the person that was a bot couldn't even give you that impression. All they did was like, Kathy says, oh, no, 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 no. Lisa Rinna says, oh, you're going to go there. It was a really, it's like nobody needs to see that. So I'm going to present things in a fun way and hopefully touch on all the things, whether it's in the market or in pop culture, that you guys have also picked up on, are like, oh my God, I get that.
That's exciting. So you're going to be able to give us stock tips, and then you're also going to give us some interesting information about reality TV.
Ooh, my hair look a mess. Yeah, I think I can basically touch on everything, but I'm not going to tell you to, I'm going to give you my thoughts and you guys can make your own decisions. The one thing about the market right now, it is so volatile. The slightest bit of news moves it up and down 2%, which is good if you're day trading, because volatility is good for day trading, not for investing. You don't really care if you're an investor. You just shut your eyes and wait a few years. But that said, volatility for day traders, when it's totally unpredictable, isn't so much fun because there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, volatility would be great if it was like, this hit, market's going down. This hit, market's going up. We're in an environment now where it goes up and then it just drops because maybe the dollar got too strong. Everyone's looking at the dollar, the 10-year, and the 2-year. So higher the yields go on the 2-year and the 10-year, then the equity market drops. And if you don't have your eyes on the 2 and 10-year and you don't really know what's driving those, they're just kind of, the moves in those bonds are kind of, it's opaque. You have no idea what's going to happen. But as soon as something's happening in the bond market, the equity market responds. So you just don't know. So when you're trading, you might have good news and you think the market's just going to steadily move up. And then it drops out of nowhere. We all know that, the interest rates are going to stay high for a while because the only way to get inflation down is to kind of destroy the economy. That's what Jerome Powell and the Fed, their goal is to, cool the economy. And by cooling the economy, what's the byproduct of cooling the economy? You're going to have companies that used to rely on cheap money no longer can, operate because now money that used to cost almost nothing, it's 5% a year. They don't have, they relied on cheap money to operate their business because they're just growing and starting and they don't plan on making money for a very long time. And that just means they're going to be paying more interest. And if they're not taking in enough revenue to counter the interest, they're going to go belly up and they're going to fire people. And that's kind of what is happening right now. And it sounds so counterintuitive to anybody because the economy was so strong, but because of supply chain issues and because of COVID. Ukrainian, the war, Russia's war with Ukraine, for example, in the UK, they're having an energy crisis on the back of that because, we're no longer doing business and taking in oil and stuff from Russia to punish them for invading the Ukraine and waging war on them. And so, where are you going, Cracky?
Oh, keep going.
And so, like in the UK, for example, it's a 10% inflation. We have about 8% here. All this to say, I hope most of that ends up on the editing room floor. But those are the kind of things that we can discuss in a very sort of layman's terms because I don't speak, hopefully, in a way that sounds too cerebral and goes over anyone's head. Just, by the way, look at Sup Bro because I have the Bro Pit and I got this t-shirt from Threadless. Not getting any kickbacks from Threadless, but isn't this, what are you doing? Cracky, sit down. Now you can't even see my Sup Bro t-shirt.
Oh, you will.
Anyway, this is my home in Beverly Hills. You like my pillow?
I love that.
Missoni.
Wait, where'd you get that? Show that again. 2
Missoni pillows. Let's put them on. I paid a lot of money. Let's prop them up.
Oh, you sound very bougie.
No, but the thing is, people forget like things like these nice pillows that you come and sit next to every day. They mean, they're a lot. You should spend money on those versus a pair of pants for $500 that you're only going to wear once I don't know, every month because they're probably so ridiculous and ostentatious that it would look stupid for you to wear them once a week. So these, I get joy from every day.
You do, and you know what? It's worth it. It totally is worth it.
But I do want to say, okay, so let's get into some of the stuff that I wanted to laugh about. Okay, so for example, okay, so the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is the best of the franchises, you know, it's kind of like sad because I was like, why is Beverly Hills, why does it have to be on when they're starting new Salt Lake City and Potomac? Because those two franchises are two of my favorites. But you can't really focus on them when you're dealing with the reunion of Beverly Hills, a season that has brought us Crystal Kung Mingoff lying, starting off the season, being, you know, basically cornered by Garcelle. Crystal, it seemed almost last season, she doesn't say last season, but that's what she's saying. Last season, you know, Garcelle's like, last season, Crystal, it was almost like you were going to say, you know, don't tell me. You're one of those people that don't see color. You're one of those people that don't see color. Don't tell me you're one of those people. Are you one of those girls? You're one of those people, right? You don't see color. She's like, Crystal, it was almost like you were going to say you're one of those people that don't see color no matter what Sutton said. And then, you know, Crystal launches into this, well, you know, the thing is, like, what Sutton said, it was really dark. And she's like, dark. And then, of course, Garcelle's wondering what Sutton said. And it's like, you know, I can't be friends with Sutton if she said something racist. And so Crystal was just back in the corner and made that up. She doubled down on Watch What Happens Live and says, you know, she started saying there was a lot more said than what was out there. And Kyle's like, no, Crystal, like, I was there. And she's like, Kyle, you were drunk. Like, you don't remember everything. She was like, I was not drunk. I remember everything. You never talked about that. Sutton never said anything that was dark. Crystal, and then Crystal was like, well, there was a lot more said before. You know, everything. It was just kind of this, like, let me see what I can say. It's like, it makes it seem like it's in some sort of gray area and that people won't challenge me on.
That's what I don't like about millennials, and I'm a millennial, and you're the generation before.
I'm Generation X, honey.
X, yeah. I don't like that about my generation. It's like Crystal is going in on, well, you don't understand. That's how I felt.
Well, yeah, because Crystal was desperate, and she was trying to prove something that wasn't provable, because then it came out.
Really dark.
Yeah, it came out about, like, you know, what Sutton said. In the end, it came out that Sutton said, you know, I will look over in my pool and I see my little white girl, and then I see a Chinese girl and a little black girl and a little red hair girl, and I think, why can't it always be like this, you know? Sutton's just like, because she's like, I love the idea of everybody getting along harmoniously in the world. That was the analogy she was making. That was the, you know, when she was watching these girls, that was what was going through her head, and that she communicated. And then, you know, Crystal was trying to say that was dark. When that came out, Garcelle was like, Crystal, no, that's not dark. You led me to believe that what she said was dark, and that's ridiculous, and that's not okay. So then Crystal starts saying, well, there was other things. And then she's on What Happens Live. She's like, there's other things that I'm never going to go into. I've talked to Sutton about it, and I'm never going to talk about it. And it's like, no, you still can't just keep throwing these things out. So anyway, that was amazing because Kyle challenged her. And then it was great to see, you know, she's like, Kyle, that's my truth. Kyle's like, no, but you never said that. You said, Crystal, you just made up stories. You made up lies about Sutton because you found yourself, you had dug yourself into a hole. You didn't know how to get out of it. And then you double down on What Happens Live. But like, you've now just said that it wasn't anything specific outside of what was already discussed, that it was an overall tone or feel. It was so crazy. I was like, Crystal is acting just like Denise did in the season with, you know, when it came down to whether or not she had sex with Brandy. And she just was lying all over the place. I mean, remember when Denise was like, you know, she couldn't remember anything. And then, I mean, Denise literally says, like, I didn't say that about Teddy. I said a lot worse things. In fact, I said a lot worse stuff about Teddy. And then they like ask her, and she's like, what other worse things did I say about Teddy? Oh, where did you get that from? What, from Lisa? You know, it's like, or whatever she said. It's like, no, from you. You cannot keep your lies straight. It was the exact same thing with Crystal. She can't keep her lies straight. And I love how Kyle, even though she gets on my nerves when she's had too many drinks, was like, nope, I am focused and I'm holding you to this and I'm holding you accountable. for these comments, and it was awesome. And then Crystal's like, you can't. She's like, my truth. That's my truth, Kyle. That's my truth. And she's like, but your truth isn't true. And it's like, that's true. You can't. Your truth is what's your truth might be rooted in fantasy or like delusions of grandeur or who knows. But you can't call that truth when you've already like come out and you've basically said things.
I think it's a lot of like, I really feel like it's sensitivity. Like, I get it in some ways. Like, she is a millennial. She's 39. Like, she's
Cracky, what do you think of millennials? How do you feel as a millennial?
like, I really don't feel good about it.
Why?
Like, I don't even feel good about the Gen Zs.
What don't you feel good about?
I just think everybody's super hypersensitive.
Do you like cancel culture?
Everybody has anxiety, and everybody is like struggling with like mental health, and it just seems like we're going in so hard on like, let's just be a little bit like, let's talk about it, but let's get over it. Let's be tough.
I agree. Let's be tough.
I'm
but
not trying to underestimate people like that are struggling with real anxiety or are struggling with mental health. Those are real issues. But I think now
that's Megan Thee Stallion.
It smells so strong. I'm like, that's the garlic.
It's the garlic in
I
there.
was like,
I am
something
listening to
is
everything you're
funky.
saying, and I do think that there's something
But I'm not trying
about
to
the
make
millennials.
it feel like I'm not like, I feel for people that really are going through it, but now it's such a buzzword.
What's the buzzword you're talking about?
That's just how I feel. That's just like,
Tell me how you feel.
and like, it's like, I mean, I don't even know. I'm getting even bad right now saying like, I'm like, that's just like my communication. I don't know like how to describe it. It's just getting too like hypersensitive. Everybody has anxiety, I feel like, and it just like throws me off because I'm like, well, when somebody really does have like an anxiety, stressful situation, when do you take it seriously?
I don't know. Am I taking you seriously right now? I'm just kidding. I agree with everything you're saying. When you are almost crying wolf all the time or you're super sensitive to everything, yes. People are like, oh, girl, sit down, girl. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about Crystal. Like, girl, sit down. But, because she, at the end of the day, I think Crystal's just trying to have a moment. Is that would you agree? Do you think millennials are just always looking for a moment? I think that's what he's saying. Millennials are always looking for a moment.
No. I think it's not about having a moment. I think it's just like everything is so sensitive.
Okay, Cracky, listen. It's not a roast.
I mean,
I'm the real day
seriously,
trader of Beverly Hills.
I don't
Now,
know
what else is
how
going on?
many-
And then there was where Andy, she's going on. She's like, so I was, and she's like, and then Andy's like, and she's like, am I boring you? Again?
Yes.
And then even Garcelle's like, again. Oh. I mean, when Garcelle smiles, it just brightens up my whole day. Garcelle's amazing. But that was really funny because it was like exactly like the year before. So this time she was talking about something really important. But Andy was like, I'm sorry, no, I swear to God, like, I swallow the yawn, And she's like, again, Andy? Again? Am I boring you? It was so fun the way she's like, am I boring you? In the exact same way she did the year before. Anyway, I'll stop trying to nail that one. But, so there was that. Then there was...
Oh, so you repeated it.
Oh, so you want me to say it again?
Who's that?
Am I boring you?
Who is that?
That was your friend. Oh, so you don't like it?
Oh, Autumn. Shout out to Autumn.
She's
She's good.
good. All right, we're going to edit this
real
down.
good.
Ooh, Chad, it is hot up in here. It is hot up in Los Angeles. We're going through an Indian summer, Chad.
Oh wait, you can't say Indian summer.
That's what they say. I don't
politically
like. I don't
incorrect.
actually care because I'm not being. I'm not actually.
No.
I don't know where the derivation comes from.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I don't care. It's what they call it. I don't know if it's American Indian. I don't know if it's
I'm working
Native
with
American related,
Italian.
or if it's Indian from like Southeast Asia. I don't know.
I'm working right now with some very fine Italians. They're very
Some
sweet.
very picky Italian.
And I'm starting
They're
to
some picky
realize
bitches.
they are so funny and raw and honest, and like they just don't understand the American sensitivity to everything.
Well, I think they do. Do you remember Margaret Cho in that Sex and the City episode? She's like, and them are some picky motherfucking Italians. When she wanted Carrie to do the Dolce and Gabbana show,
Oh yeah.
where Carrie does, she's like, and then Stanford is like, Carrie, Carrie, and she's like, Stanford, I don't have the time right now to decipher the levels of queendom in your life.
Oh wow.
Because she's like,
Jeez,
Carrie, am I a queen? Carrie. She's like getting her hair done. She's about to like walk down the runway. She's like, Stanford, I really don't have the energy or the time to decipher the levels of queendom in your life right now.
that is funny.
I know, it's really
never
funny.
even remember that.
And
You
then she
remember
walks down and she
everything.
falls down. He's like, oh my God, Fashion Road Club. By the way, poor Stanny. He's dead now. He died. I mean, that show's kind of cursed. You had,
Mr. got kicked
Mr.
out,
Big got canceled over some dodgy stuff with women, and then he's dead. Samantha didn't
which,
join.
That
Kim
probably
Cattrall.
does seem real. Mr. Big doing that.
Yeah, Chris
Just
Noth
faces.
definitely seems like he could do some stuff like that.
Which is kind of fucked up.
Do you remember when Alex McCord was talking to her husband, and he was like and Alex was like sitting with Bethany, and she was like on the phone with her husband, and she's like, what's his name again?
Alex?
No,
Or
Alex
no?
McCord.
Simon. Yeah.
And she's like, Bethany, Simon isn't sure whether he should wear the red leather boots or the black patent leather. And she's like, tell him he's in the midst of a deep homosexual panic. So funny.
Wait, she
Bethany,
said that?
she goes,
Bethany?
tell Simon he's in the midst of a deep homosexual panic. Yeah.
Wait.
Tell him he's in the midst of a deep homosexual panic.
I
And Alex is
cannot
like,
believe that.
I was like, of course she doesn't laugh at Bethany, but I'm sure she doesn't want to be.
Can we touch on, since you already brought up Bethany, Miss Skinny Girl herself? She has been on Instagram doing all these makeup review tutorials, and she is ripping the Kardashians, saying, oh, their shit is like all like overpriced, and you're paying for this expensive packaging, and like,
Well, I mean, look
good
at
or
Chloe's
Friday.
disgusting 90s mom,
Hey,
stonewash,
hey,
acid wash mom
we're
jeans.
not talking about fabric. We're talking about she's.
I'm talking about the
ripping
style. I'm talking about the
makeup.
cut. I'm talking about everything about them.
Oh, and we have to watch the new episode.
Oh, that's right. I say important shit. You say boring shit. Oh, can we talk about? Oh my God, I didn't
We're
even.
gonna have a discrepancy on taste level. We'll always.
No,
have a
listen. I always. This is the thing, Cracky. I always say this. Everyone should believe that their taste is the best because it's your taste.
like
Now-
Giselle.
Listen, I don't care. It's like your taste in music should be. You should believe your taste in music is the best because it's a music that resonates with you and you like the most. Now, I guess if you're somebody who hasn't kind of experienced every type of genre music, I should say, not genre, then it's different if you only listen to pop music and you think pop music's the best and you've never listened to classical or you've never listened to rap or hip hop or reggae. Then it's kind of hard to be like, I have the best taste in music and pop's the best. And you're like, okay, well, what don't you like about hip hop, reggae, rap? And you're like, well, I never listened to them. Then it's a different thing.
Right.
But it's, if you're somebody that has consumed all different types of clothes and designers and the high end and the low end, and then you decide, this is the stuff, I have all the money in the world and this is the stuff I choose to buy, then that's your taste, and your taste should be better, or you should believe your taste is better than someone like, say, Cracky's. Style is not putting on a disgusting hat just because it's avant-garde and it's whatever. It's like, nope, I know what a nice hat looks like. And just because it looks like, you remember Carrie when she was like, they were like, what was that thing in the movie, the first movie? And then they were like, what was that? It was like, she's like, no, it was a bird. It was a bird. It was a bird. It was like, no, it was a bird. And I thought it was so funny because it was disgusting. But you know what? Like, people would say, oh, but that's style. That's taking risks. I can appreciate the risk. but I think take a risk with something that looks good. Like, there's a lot of risk with like.
But you don't necessarily.
Like, for example, when Erica Jane, when she was in, but remember when they were in I think when they were in Hong Kong, and she came out and she was like, I'm really late because I'm wearing this. She was basically wearing that red, it's latex. Well, if you never wear latex, you got to put on the powder and this and that. It's a big problem. And they, and she came out and she was like, can't move her. But I was like, okay, that was a risk, and that actually looked really cool. Versus taking a risk with something and it doesn't land. Like Carrie's bird hat didn't land. Or
that's just to you. It landed for me.
In the second episode of the new season, it landed for you. It didn't land. It landed, but like even in the movie, they were kind of taking the piss and saying like, by the way, what was that thing on your hand? Was that a thing? No, it's a bird. That was like, which is like, no, it was a bird. It was. She was like all Xanaxed out. It was like their way of saying. It looked like shit. And I think also he had to go at me. Cracky had to go at me when we were rewatching. And just like that, it was episode 2, Big's funeral. And she's got that black wafer. She's got this black, thin, looks like it's, I don't know. What do you think it was made out of? It looked like it was made out of wicker to me. It looked like black spray painted a wicker disc sitting on her head. And I just thought her dress looked great. But that wicker disc was almost like you're trying to make a fashion statement more than you are trying to just be a widow grieving. And the fashion statement is hideous. And he's like, but you don't know. That's called style. Remember, you're like, that's style. You don't know that. And I'm like, no, that's just bad. That's like a bad fashion choice.
Listen, I'm not saying
she took a risk, but wait, let me just say, you are basically trying to conflate taking a risk with having good style. And I'm saying, no, I love great, risky fashion if it looks good. It has to still look good. It still has to fit my idea of what a good, solid aesthetic is. You are basically trying to say that just because it's risky and just because it's out there and avant-garde, you like it. No, well, that's what you said to me when I said about the hat. You were like, but no, honey, that's style. It's like you turned into, I don't know. He turned into like what's his name? Tim Gunn. Make it work. Remember from Project Runway, what was the name? Tim Gunn. Make it work. I don't know, but make it work. Why is it? I don't want it to be on my face. I don't need them.
You're the main objective.
Oh, I know that. But anyway, Cracky, you flatter me. You flatterer. Okay, let's just get back to. What about? I had to do this. I was gonna start out the episode going, what about the people? What about the facts? That's one of my best ones. That's
really good.
Come on, we're not supposed to be
I've heard it a couple times.
You're supposed to be supportive. You're not here to be like that, really. Just because you in our life have heard, okay, whatever. He's heard it a bunch of times. I've heard it amazing.
Just a couple of times.
What about the people? What about the facts?
I think sometimes when I hear it, it's like in my sleep.
And guess what? He complained about it. I am cutting Cracky off. He complained about it. I was like, oh my God, am I going to be hearing what about the facts? Like all the time. 2 hours later, I'm sitting there in the living room. Him. What about the facts? But not as good as me. And I'm like, oh, I knew it. I knew you'd be doing it. You were gagging to do it all day long, and you were just jealous because I came up with it first. I'm the one who picked up on it first. And then you were basically resenting me for picking up on it before you did and turning it into my little, what about the facts? And then he was like, oh God, why didn't I think of that? So now all I can do is complain because I don't want to hear about it because it just reminds me of the fact that I didn't pick up on it first.
First off,
we're going to go there. I was also worried about, I was jet lagged. I had my friends dying of cancer. Kyle. Didn't even tell you about that, Kyle. I'm jet lagged. Paris is getting married. I'm really tired. Really.
Oh my God.
Bit of everything.
Can we talk
not
about
sleeping.
that?
Sleep deprived.
Can we
okay.
Okay.
Okay, Lisa. She's like,
what side are you
Lisa,
on?
you could also be unkind. Oh, we're gonna go there. I mean, Lisa is all right. So this is the other thing I have to
What
say.
side are
Lisa
you on?
is fascinating, funny. She might be the biggest bone collector, and she doesn't let anything go. And you do. It's like when Sutton Pill does, she's like, "The little buckhorn Lisa." Okay, do what Lisa says, or you won't get ever forgiven. Okay. I didn't, when she first said that, I just thought it was stupid, but then I was like, that's actually how it works with Lisa Rinna. You better, like, because I'm like, okay, what is she expecting from Kathy, right? Like, you're kind of like, she's like, I'm not going to let you get away with it, Kathy. I'm not, you did something, this horrible, beautiful sister of yours. Yeah, I was shook. I mean, how many times did she tell us how she was, I just, I had to leave. I had to lock my door because, well, I was shook. I was shook. But she's like, you're not going to get away with it, Kathy. You've got to really, I don't want to say you need help, Kathy, but I think you really need, I don't want to say you need help, Kathy, but I think you need some help. I really think you need to get help. And it's like, wait. I said to them, I said to my friends, this is why I'm doing this, so I can, like, I hope other people can, like, relate. I was like, what the fuck does she want from Kathy? I mean, my friends were even like, she apologized, like, I know, but it's like, what, Kathy has to go to a psychiatrist and agree that she's, like, batshit crazy and needs to go to a psychiatrist before, what, Lisa Rinna lets her off the hook? Like, who's Lisa Rinna to let her off the hook? But that's how Lisa is. She did it with Kim Richards, and, it's pretty amazing because like Lisa Rinna is like somebody in our lives and she is kind of like a bully, even though she, pretends to be coming from a place of concern. She's like that bully that where you might have made a fool of yourself the night before drunk and you think you're going to wake up in the morning with anxiety and you're going to be like, oh my God, everyone hates me. Lisa's that person that's like, yeah, everyone does hate you today. I did hate what she did to poor Denise Richards. Ooh, you're so angry. Who told you that? You sent a cease and desist letter, right? Who told you that? Oh, you're so angry. Lisa is genius. What about when Denise with the season before she was like, Camille was like, yeah, Denise, so why don't you back off? She's like, why don't you back the fuck off? See how I like to, you have to see these to really appreciate them. It's like Madonna and Who's That Girl, where she's like, yeah, you have to see me spend money to really appreciate me. I said with that skull, she's like, did anyone see Who's That Girl? It's one of the funniest movies. It's Madonna's best, most effective role, I think, even beyond Evita and Desperately Seeking Susan. She's hysterical as Nikki Finn. And what? Ooh, is that just straight vodka? What'd you just pour in there? Straight vodka?
Maybe.
And they're like she's like in this one point in the movie, she's like talking to this like flamboyant homosexual man, and he works in a jewelry store, and she's like, from the other side of the track, she's like trash, and she's pretending to be Loudon's cousin, who was really rich, marrying a really rich woman. Not to get into too much, but she's pretending that she's like cousins with a really rich man, and she's dressed in like, trashy clothes. Very East Village, circa 1980, and then he's like, I wasn't aware that Loudon had a cousin. He's like, what? Or no, I think she's like, I'm Loudon's sister. I'm Loudon's sister. And he's like, I wasn't aware Mr. Trot had a sister. Were you aware? Boarding school? She's like, yeah, that's right. And she's like looking at all the diamonds and stuff that she wants to start. She's like, yeah, I was at boarding school. Yeah, that's where I was. He's like, was that school Swiss? And she goes, what was that? He goes, I said, was the school Swiss? And she goes, yeah, sure, we're the Swissest. It's one of my favorite things of all time. I'm just all over the place. I think I'm trying to get all my best bits in the first episode, but trust me, there are bits. I haven't even going into my Golden Girls.